Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin with an exclusive story tonight. When Sarah Morrison gave birth to her first child last month, she left the hospital with empty arms and an empty heart. The Haisla woman says she was turned away, abandoned and ignored by the healthcare system in British Columbia just when she needed it most. She spoke to APTN reporter Kathleen Martins about her experience, and a note of caution, the subject matter may be upsetting for some viewers.
Hi, Carly. I'm deciding to make this for you right now. There's your mom. Okay, this is when you're being born. There's Dad. I'll let you see. I don't know how to turn it on because I'm not very good with apples.
Ronnie Luft's video diary was supposed to tell a happy story for him and Sarah Morrison and their newborn daughter. Instead, it's now evidence in the Kitimat couple's lawsuit. They're alleging they received negligent medical care and were subjected to racial stereotyping. It began on January 27th at the Kitimat Hospital, where Sarah Morrison, who was overdue by 2 weeks, came after starting to have contractions just before 7 p.m. There, she learns that her baby's heart rate is strong. According to their lawsuit, Morrison's pregnancy was uneventful, but the doctor wouldn't admit her.
And he said, that he couldn't do anything for us, and that we should have just went to Terrace.
Morrison says the couple left the hospital to call an ambulance.
And they came, picked us up at the front, and brought us to the back where the emergency is. And then we sat there for a while, and the ambulance attendant asked us if we could pay. Said, I don't care how much it is, we'll pay.
According to Morrison, the ambulance attendant refuses to drive them to Terrace. Morrison and Luft still had high hopes they were going to meet their daughter that night. Her father had met them at Kitimat Hospital and raced her here on the highway about a 45-minute drive to Terrace. Her contractions continued, her stress was rising, but they were still feeling positive. But then things took a turn for the worst. It was 8 p.m. when Morrison arrives at the hospital in Terrace. She says she's never been here before. Yet the lawsuit alleges her medical chart contains erroneous information and racial stereotyping, including that she was in an abusive relationship, her parents have diabetes, her parents are alcoholics and recovering from drugs, and that she was depressed.
And then they brought us to a room, and the doctors strapped me to the bed for a thing that was supposed to monitor my contractions, and they were trying to find her heartbeat for a very long time, and they said they were having difficulties, so I tried to ask for a C-section. I begged for a C-section, and all the doctor said was that he didn't see the point.
Morrison says the doctor voices concerns about her health.
It wouldn't be in best interest for my future pregnancies, and I said she is my future, please save her. And he just ignored me.
Morrison says she delivers her daughter naturally just before 2 a.m. on January 28th.
And then when I gave birth, all they did was wash her off and hand her to me. They wouldn't resuscitate her.
Morrison's mother was present during the birth and again during this interview for support. Morrison says Luft was too overcome with grief to participate. Morrison and Luft allege the death of their daughter was preventable. They are suing both hospitals, 5 doctors, a nurse, and the Northern Health Authority of BC. They're claiming the injuries were caused by the doctor's negligence. The defendants breached their duty of care and the standards expected of a doctor in the province of British Columbia, in combination with treating the plaintiffs with deliberate and racial indifference, the claim says. None of the allegations have been proven in court. the health authority sent out a statement saying it will look into the allegations of anti-Indigenous racism. These allegations are taken extremely seriously, and we believe that the review underway will allow us to understand what occurred from the experience of this family, the staff, and physicians.
I tried resuscitating her for hours.
You did?
I did. I did everything for my baby. They didn't do anything. All they did was hand me my baby.
Luft and Morrison say they are suffering emotional and psychological trauma, anxiety, loss of the will to live, grief, shame, and embarrassment. No one has filed a statement of defense yet, and there's no timeline to complete the review into finding out what happened to Sarah Morrison and her baby. Kathleen Martins, APTN National News, Kitimat, BC.
A truly tragic story. You can read more about it on our website. To the pandemic now, and there are now over 5,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 tied to Canadian prisons. Provincial jails in Quebec are among the hardest hit. Advocates say Quebec's handling of the issue is directly interfering with inmates' human rights. Lindsay Richardson has more.
In the first wave of the pandemic, the COVID-19 virus hit federally run prisons worse than provincial ones. In the second wave, provincial jails are hardest hit. And lawyers say the solutions being applied edge on cruel and unusual. There are over 100 confirmed cases of COVID-19 at the Bordeaux jail on the island of Montreal, which houses a number of Mohawk detainees. The St. Jerome jail, which houses a significant Inuit population, has over a dozen cases. A lawyer representing some of these First Nations and Inuit clients says current conditions are deplorable.
They feel like they're treating, a lot of them, they are treated like dogs. Most of my clients, the majority, have been contaminated by COVID already. There are two in a small cell, locked about 24 and 24, with not very much access to showers. Some of my clients were locked down for about 28 days.
J'étais propriétaire d'une ferme de légumes biologiques, puis ma grange était plus propre que la prison secteur C, le secteur E de Bordeaux.
If you don't believe it, this man, a former Bordeaux inmate who contracted COVID-19 during the lockdown, will confirm.
Là, ils nous ont donné une douche de 3 minutes. Ils nous ont renfermés dans une cellule. Là, on est tombé en une cellule double. J'ai fait un autre 14 jours dans cette cellule-là, 24 sur 24, encore là, pas de douche. Là, faut pas oublier, là, ça va faire pas loin de 20 jours. C'est le même linge, là, j'ai plus de linge propre.
Gaulnier says inmates receive zero stimulation. Books are banned. They sometimes have radio or brief access to a cell phone, but not cleaning products like during the first wave. Human rights groups say Quebec should have learned from its mistakes the first time around. But Quebec's Public Security Ministry says they're doing their share. Jail visits have been on hold almost a year. They say they've expedited release or assigned house arrest to inmates over 65 or inmates considered low risk to reoffend. But Gaulnier says the process isn't as simple as stated. Instead, she suggests prioritizing inmates for vaccination. But in an email to APTN, Quebec's Public Health Ministry states there have been no changes to the planned vaccine rollout. Quote, "We've repeated this since the beginning. Vaccinations depend on the doses received in Quebec. Quebec remains dependent on the number of doses received from the federal government, since the latter is responsible for the supply of the vaccine to the provinces and territories. Provincial inmates are currently among the last groups who will receive the vaccine, despite being high risk. Advocates maintain, despite there being so many cases, there are still too few compassionate solutions." Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Time for a quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for part 3 of our COVID in the community perspectives. APTN's Tina House concludes the series with a look at the rollout of vaccines and the challenges we are experiencing. Here's that story.
Vaccines have finally arrived, and inoculations began worldwide in early December 2020, as the death toll from COVID-19 nears 2.4 million people. Some say it couldn't come soon enough. From New York City to Brazil to Mexico to Canada, the World Health Organization says that everyone in the world will have access to the vaccines, including third world countries where the fight to survive is a daily struggle. But how is the rollout going so far in Canada?
We are still very much on track, as promised, to get those 6 million doses by the end of March.
The federal government says they have secured 10 doses for each Canadian from 7 different companies producing vaccines, with the goal of having every Canadian vaccinated by September 2021. But so far, out of the 7 companies, Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are the only 2 to get approval in Canada. And there have been delays and production shortages hampering their efforts to stay on schedule. Critics say that it isn't going as planned, adding that Canada has now fallen to 20th place in the world in getting doses to its citizens, despite being a first world country.
One of the biggest failures, though, is not having the ability to make the vaccine in Canada. If we don't produce it locally, we will always be at the whim and mercy of other countries that produce the vaccine, whether they ship it to us or not, and delays might happen. And that's what we're up against right now. Justin Trudeau could have done this a year ago. We're going to continue to fight to make sure we can produce the vaccine here and get everyone in our country vaccinated.
But the vaccine is rolling out. In the north, the territories say they are on track for having 75% of the population vaccinated by the spring. In British Columbia, on Vancouver Island, the Cowichan tribe has received 600 vaccinations for their vulnerable members as they continue to deal with COVID-19 cases.
When I saw the cars lined up, and I was overwhelmed with tears knowing that our community and our elders are going to be safe.
But there are challenges and miscommunications. The Newhawk Nation has 2,000 members and is located in northwest BC. Kirsten Milton says her community was at first looking forward to getting some of their vulnerable members vaccinated. But Milton says that mood soon changed when Vancouver Coastal Health spoke with her community leadership and said the doses were a gift.
In the terms that were used, I felt that was very inappropriate to state that public health was being gifted to our people and gifted to our nation. That was just an alarming concern for me because public health should not be labeled as a gift for anybody.
Initially, they were given 180 doses. However, an additional 350 doses also arrived, which they were not expecting. They were told to provide a rollout plan by the next morning, and they did. But Vancouver Coastal Health rescinded the additional vaccines anyway.
The gift will now be leaving because our plan wasn't in place.
In a statement to APTN, Vancouver Coastal Health says they have apologized to the community and will work harder on reconciliation. However, they did not explain why they took back the additional doses.
Here on Vancouver's downtown east side, where there has been numerous outbreaks reported, pop-up vaccine clinics like the one behind me has been set up for anybody who wants to go in and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Marilyn Baker is one of those that just got her vaccine shot, and she wants to encourage others not to be scared.
What do you have to lose? What do you got to lose? Nothing, right? We take a chance every day we go out.
The downtown east side wasn't scheduled to start vaccinations until April, but that date got moved up because of more cases. Jenny was one of those that stood in the rain for about an hour to get her shot.
What does it mean for you today to be able to get this vaccine sooner than later?
It means a lot to me because then I can be with my family.
New coronavirus variants are making COVID-19 more transmissible.
Another possible hurdle during this pandemic are the variants from COVID-19. It's not unusual that viruses mutate, but the UK, South African, and Brazilian variants are a concern. Although they don't seem to be making people any sicker, they are more contagious. As of February the 18th, there are about 670 cases of all three variants in Canada. More research needs to be done to see if the vaccines will provide full protection against these variants.
We may actually benefit the population more by giving more first doses to some people rather than second doses to a fewer number of people. And that's because you get very strong short-term protection from a single dose.
However, she does not recommend getting 2 different shots from 2 different vaccine companies. And back on the front lines, as the second wave continues, Pavlova says it's still going to be a challenge for a long time.
We have no cure, we have no medications. Antibiotics don't work against viral viruses, and this is a virus infection. So we're kind of fighting a sometimes losing battle where we can only support a person with supportive treatments like oxygen, fluids, but we cannot give them immune system, and that's the main factor, is the strong immune system to fight off the invading virus.
As the world deals with the pandemic and a possible third wave from the new variants in the spring, we wanted to take a moment to honor those that have lost their lives to this virus. I'm Tina House. Thanks for tuning in to COVID in the Community. Take care of each other and stay safe.
Caught us by surprise. The world changed overnight. It's fear with the unknown. Together, not alone.
The prized Arctic Inspiration Award will be announced tomorrow night. Details after the break.
Make it if we're strong. Together, not alone.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Ron Williams caught this moment with the sun breaking through the snow-covered birch and poplar trees of central Manitoba from near Norway House First Nation. We invite all our viewers to send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to see your photo as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, -4 with showers for St. John's, 3 below in Halifax, 16 below in Nain, -18 for Kuujjuaq, -6 in Montreal with snow, 13 below in Chibougamau, -7 in Ottawa, 4 below with flurries for Sault Ste. Marie, -9 and make that -6 with snow for Thunder Bay, 12 below in Sioux Lookout, sunny and 17 below in Norway House, God's Lake and Thompson. -14 for Winnipeg, 15 below in Barons River. Sunny and -15 for Saskatoon, 12 below in Regina. -10 in Uranium City, snow and 8 below for Meadow Lake. Over in northern Alberta, -3 for High Level and Peace River. +3 and sunny in Medicine Hat, +1 for Edmonton. Showers and 6 in Vancouver, +3 for Kamloops. +1 in Prince George, -1 and snow in Smithers. -27 in Old Crow, 7 below in Whitehorse. -11 with snow in Yellowknife, -21 in Wrigley. -33 with snow for Sax Harbor. Flurries and 26 below in Pawlutuk. -30 with snow in Cambridge Bay, 18 below in Arviat. -34 and snow in Resolute, 32 below in Igloolik. In an odd stroke of luck, a Whitehorse antique dealer has stumbled upon an original print of the historic Yukon document, Together Today for Our Children Tomorrow. The document has since paved the way for the territory's self-government agreements. APTN Sarah Connors was there as the print was rehomed to the organization born from the document's legacy.
They can see the quality of the print too, right? It's very done very well. You can see it's actually done on high-grade paper.
Totally.
Council of Yukon First Nations Grand Chief Peter Johnston still can't wrap his head around it.
In my 48 years, I've never seen anything like that.
This is an original print of the landmark Together Today for Our Children Tomorrow document. It highlights the frustration Indigenous people had in the 1960s and 70s, while also exploring the future they wanted for their people.
We felt it was a good time for us not only to to bring our agenda forward, but equally as important to ensure that we don't get left behind in Indian realities.
In 1973, a group of Yukon First Nations leaders were able to convince the federal government to begin a negotiation process for a modern-day treaty, the first in Canada.
We're not here for a handout, we're here with a plan, and the plan is in this book. So this is my grandma's niece.
2 years ago, antique shop owner Andrew Cook was shocked when he found the historic print forgotten in a framing shop in Whitehorse.
I've been collecting art and antiques my whole life, and seldom opportunities come around where you find something that has such significance.
Now he's giving it back to the organization that's based on the document's legacy, the Council of Yukon First Nations.
I mean, there's no greater pleasure than to be able to give something that has such power and significance to a community, and to a community that's embraced me.
But most of these, gentlemen came straight off the trapline.
The print also has special significance for Johnston.
Well, my dad was one of the signatories back in the day for Together Today for Our Children Tomorrow. He was the chief of the Teslin Indian Band back in 1970 to 1984.
The print's origin still leaves some unanswered questions.
There is somewhat of a mystery. Where did it come from? What did they use this to promote that day in Ottawa?
The print will now be displayed in CYFN's conference room, where it's here to stay.
For us to get a piece of history come back to CYFN, I think it's not only monumental, but now we can share it, like I said, and promote it for the next generation to enjoy as well. It now is a part of, like I said, a part of CYFN, and it's good for it to be home.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Love stories like that. Well, tomorrow night on APTN, we'll be airing the 9th annual Arctic Inspiration Prize live ceremony. The AIP Awards provide startup funding to northern teams with innovative project ideas that will benefit their communities. Its goal is to recognize northern innovation and excellence and encourage teamwork for the betterment of life in Canada's north. The AIP is the largest annual prize in Canada, totaling $1 million. This year's nominees include a food security project in Nunavut and a youth art program in the Northwest Territories. Can't wait, and you can watch the AIP ceremony tomorrow, February 19th on APTN at 7:30 p.m. Central, and on APTN Lumi tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central, where it will be free to watch for the next 24 hours. Well, that is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. For more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. Todd Lamoran's up next with Nation to Nation. To close our show tonight, here's a Cree Honor song performed by the Love Medicine Drum Group, shot from our Vancouver Bureau. Have a good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.